Question: why do kids ask so many questions? It's because they want to know stuff. They're trying to learn. There's so much to learn in the world. There's so many things to know to deal with society. And kids are born not knowing all that stuff. Adults take it for granted. Adults are so used to knowing so many things that they just forget how much stuff there is to learn. And they're not good at seeing other people's perspectives. It's hard to think about the world in a completely different way than you've been used to for the last 20 years. But stuff is complicated. Kids are trying to figure stuff out about math, reading, writing, communicating, art, TV, and social stuff. How do you get along with people? How do you get along with your parents, your friends, other kids? They're trying to figure out what to do with emotions, music, dancing, cake, food, drinks. I mean, they have trouble with the bathroom. They have to learn how to use the potty. They have to figure out clothing. What kinds of clothes do they like? What kinds of clothes are acceptable to their parents? How do they put their own clothes on? How do they tie their shoes? And then so much of the stuff at school, or that people tell them, or they see on TV or whatever, is confusing. It's not explained very well. If you don't already understand it, you're probably not going to understand it from the thing you heard. But the kids aren't presented with millions and millions of really well-explained ideas. So a lot of the times, all they have is they saw something on TV and they didn't totally understand it. Or their teacher said something and they didn't really get it. So they have to ask questions. They have to take those leads like, oh, there's something there I don't know about, and try to figure it out more. And, they can figure out some things on their own, but if they can get help, that's way better. If they can ask a bunch of questions. So it's really sad that parents get annoyed by kids asking questions. They get fed up with it, and it's partly because the parents are bad at answering questions. They don't know the answers. And they're not very good at explaining things, and they don't really want to think about communication. They don't really want to spend their time thinking about how to be a better question answerer. You gotta question why they're parents, though. If you don't want to spend your time answering a million questions, why did you want to have a kid who is born completely ignorant and is gonna have a million questions? Did you just figure his teachers would explain everything to him and you wouldn't have to worry about it? That's pretty irresponsible. And why do you want to have a kid if you're just expecting other people to raise him? You think his daycare providers and then his public school teachers are gonna raise him for you and teach him all the things, and you'll just do the fun parts? Or the annoying parts, like changing his diaper and getting woken up in the middle of the night? If you want to be a good parent, you need to be the type of person who likes to talk to your kid, who likes to have conversations and explain things and teach things. You can't just outsource that. That's a very core part of parenting. So if you think your kid is asking, quote, so many questions, first of all, no, he's not. He's taken the hint that you don't appreciate all his questions already. If you actually were answering his questions and it was useful answers and you were nice about it, he would be asking you a lot more questions. It's not like he knows everything already. He's got plenty more questions. Especially if you'd actually help him ask questions. Help him figure out what are good questions. How do you make a question good? Help him figure out how to ask effective questions that get him the knowledge he wants more. A lot of kids have communication issues where they try to ask a question and the answer they receive is not what they were looking for. And, sometimes that's more the kid's fault than the adult. The kid was unclear and didn't express himself. And so if you can actually help a kid express himself better, then he'll ask more questions because it's going to work out better. And people don't do a great job with that. They don't know how. They haven't really thought about it. Asking lots of questions is a good thing. Curiosity is a good thing. It's good when people are actually interested in stuff and they want to know things. That's something that's sadly lacking in a lot of adults. There's a lot of negative attitudes to questions in our culture, and after a while, people get used to it and they expect questions not to be taken super well, and they limit their question asking, and they try to find a way of life where they don't have to ask very many questions. They try to do more things themselves. There's also a very common issue that people think if you're asking questions, you're dumb. Like, they think the person asking a bunch of questions is dumber than the person who just doesn't ask any questions and acts like he already knows everything. Lots of people just don't understand what's going on, but they don't say anything, and they just kind of pretend to know what's going on. And then if someone's asking questions, they're like, oh, you don't know that? You're dumb. Why are you so ignorant? Like, you stand out more if you ask questions. And you stand out by revealing ignorance. Asking a question implies some ignorance. And that's okay when you're 6. Like, there's no 6-year-olds that are pretending to know everything already. But when you're 16 or 26 or 46, do you want to stand out as ignorant? And do you want to admit you don't know things when all your peers are just pretending to know a lot of stuff? Do you want to look worse than them in a sort of visible way? So that's another reason people learn not to ask questions, but that doesn't apply so much with little kids who are socially allowed and expected to not know everything yet.